Voter fatigue is gonna play a major role in this year's MVP race, and I feel like also since Shai is #1 in the West, they're gonna just give it to him just cause. But if I'm thinking like, feel me, if I'm not being biased, I'm giving it to Jokic.
The
Fuck the
NBA's
Nuggets,
most valuable player.
Like, subscribe, turn on post notice, chat.
Today's video is sponsored by Draft. Spots are on the line.
DraftKings, you know, if you want to sponsor up and coming YouTuber/streamer, I'm right here, guys. You feel me? Early investment is gonna pay off in another year or two. I ain't gonna lie, off this picture, he's winning MVP. Aura is off the charts. Numbers fit for an MVP.
The most compelling case someone can make to be the most valuable player in the league is to put up the best numbers in the league. This isn't the only ingredient to the MVP recipe, but it's a big one. And right now, Jokic and Shai aren't just having the two best seasons in the NBA. They're having two of the best seasons of all time. Just looking at some simple box
score. Nigga averaging 30. This nigga averaging a triple-double. Nigga averaging 30, 13, and 11 again. Yes, we boost stats over here. Same amount of steals. He's shooting better from the field. Oh my god, like Jokic is a different type of nigga. Has he always had this in him, right? Like, he's different. Yo, if Jokic was like winning rings while doing this, word to he be in the conversation as like one of the greatest players of all time. Averaging a easy triple-double.
Score numbers, Nikola Jokic jumps off the screen like the obvious favorite. A near 30-point triple-double on nearly the best efficiency in the entire league, and the first player to ever be top 3 in points, rebounds, and assists. Numbers that make Shai's season look a bit pedestrian, despite being historic. 33, 5, and 6 on at least 60% true shooting is a stat line that has only been achieved by 3 other players in the history of the NBA. Michael Jordan, James Harden, and Luka Doncic across 5 different seasons.
Yo, y'all don't know about Prime Harden. Prime Harden was different. He had niggas guarding him from behind, hands behind their back.
Although none of them were as efficient from the floor as Shai is this season. However, box score numbers by themselves have never been quite enough to compel voters. Of these 5 previous seasons, only one of them ended up winning the MVP, Michael Jordan in '88. And to pull it off, he had to also be the best defensive player in the league. Case of Jokic,
there's only let y'all know that was a fraudulent DPOY, and LeBron should have when they boosted his stats, and it was confirmed. Google it yourself.
In one season in modern NBA history that compares to his, Russell Westbrook in 2017. And that season, he was the runaway MVP, receiving 69 of the total 101 first-place votes. The glaring difference between these two seasons? The mile-wide gap in their efficiency. Nearly a decade and some of the most absurd statistical seasons later, and the upgraded version of Westbrook's MVP season not only doesn't warrant a runaway victory for the award, it may not even win it. But these numbers hardly even scratch the surface of the impact and value these two provide every game. If we take a deeper look into some of their more advanced numbers, we can see just how remarkable Shai and Jokic have been this season.
Give it to him off Aura. I'm sorry, I might be dick sucking, but every time I see a Jokic clip, it's auraless. He has no aura. But then I see a Shai clip, I'm like, I'm mesmerized by the screen.
The MVP race is as close as it is. To put into perspective the caliber of season these two are having, LeBron at his absolute statistical peak had a box plus minus of 13.24. Steph Curry at his absolute best had a BPM of 11.94. This season, Jokic has a box plus minus of 13.21, and Shai is at 11.58. Choosing between Jokic and SGA this season is like picking between '09 LeBron and 2016 Steph. Good luck. For the last half-decade, Jokic has led the league in just about every
stats. OPBM, I don't know bull. PBM, shout out Platboy Max. DPBM, I don't know what that means. Defensive body per minute. WS wide shooting. WS 48 wide shooting 48. The VAROP, the PER possessions every rear.
advanced metric
True shooting.
by about a mile. But
Usage.
this season, Shai has threatened Jokic's spot and even dethroned him at times as the best player in the league. A feat that in and of itself is probably the most impressive thing he's done all season. On any given night, either one of them can look like the most impactful player on the planet. And even looking at advanced numbers, the edge is only slightly in Jokic's favor. Crafted NBA has Jokic as the best player in the NBA this season, with Shai right behind him, and then a really big gap, and then everyone else. Estimated plus minus, on the other hand, has Shai as the best player in the league this season, with Jokic right behind him, and then huge gap, everyone else. A quick glance at any of these catch-all statistics will tell you that Jokic and SGA are both historically and almost equally as dominant this season. Fortunately for those who are put to the difficult task of choosing between Jokic and SGA for MVP, these numbers have never been a direct indication of who will.
Man, that shit looks so hard. Like, imagine hoping in front of millions of people, bro, on the biggest stage in the world. Imagine being in the finals, like. The depth perception got to be crazy when you play
MVP. Like these numbers have never been a direct indication of who will or who should win the award. Over the last 2 decades, the best or most impactful player in the NBA in any given season, according to some of the best advanced metrics, ended up winning the MVP award only about half of the time. Many times, these are cases where the individual numbers were backed with regular season team success, but rarely have the numbers alone, regardless of how great they were, been enough to be crowned the most valuable player in the league. In fact, if putting up the best stats automatically made a player the MVP, voting for the award wouldn't even be necessary.
Facts.
So in terms of sheer individual numbers, there isn't a very compelling case to be made in either direction. Jokic's numbers are better, but without more context, their dominance from game to game is virtually the same. So we need to add more context. How are these performances impacting their team? And to what extent does their historic
I'm pretty sure the Nuggets not going that crazy right now. They were like 5th. Yo, shout out to Thunder. I ain't gonna lie, they're one of the most fun teams to watch this season.
In most cases, when two players are
having they play defense, they are a young team, they have personality. The starting point guard is fucking Mr. Aura himself.
Incredible seasons.
And they have Asian Duke Dennis. Like, what don't they have?
Tiebreaker in the eyes of fans and voters comes down to how well their team is playing. The second ingredient to the MVP recipe: win and win often. 25 of the last 30 MVPs went to players who clinched either the first or second seed in their conference. And right now, the Thunder aren't just winning more games than the Nuggets. They are the 4th highest winning team in modern NBA history. But recently, team success has held less weight in the MVP discussion than it has in the past. 3 of the last 4 MVPs going to players outside of the top 2 seeds.
Well, 3rd seed not crazy. 3rd seed, 6th seed though, that's OD. Nah, Joel Embiid got the most fraudulent MVP. That nigga is a bum.
Nikola Jokic being just the 2nd player in over 40 years to win the MVP, despite his team not even cracking 50 wins in a full season back in 2021. As if the voters have made the decision that the MVP isn't limited to simply the best player on the best team, but rather the player who has the largest impact on a winning team. And right now, there is one player in basketball who is impacting the game far more than anyone else. Here are the current top 8 leaders in the MVP race: Jokic, Shai, Giannis, Tatum, Mitchell.
If you got Curry on this motherfucker but not LeBron, I will turn on this video.
Curry, Mobley, and LeBron. And here are the net ratings of each of their...
Yo, just give it the LeBron, bro. Fuck it.
Teams. Shai has put on a masterclass all season, leading the Thunder to be not just the most dominant team this season, but the 2nd most dominant regular season team in NBA history in terms of net rating. And for many people, the overwhelming team success the Thunder have had this season is enough to push Shai into the lead for the MVP. But value isn't just when your team wins. It is how much your team depends on you to win. If we look at each team's
every time I watch some Jimmy Haro, it feels like I'm watching a fucking movie. Like, these shit is so well edited, and they just go watch my shit. And it's just me holding the mic and talking.
Rating when their MVP candidate is on the floor. It is clear that the Thunder are easily the best team in the league when Shai is on the court, with an absurd net rating of plus 18.3. This means that when Shai is on the floor, the Thunder are nearly 20 points better than their opponents per 100 possessions, followed by the Cavs with Mobley, the Cavs with Mitchell, and the Nuggets with Jokic. But the most revealing measure is the difference a player makes for their team when they're on the court versus when they're off the court, where Nikola Jokic jumps out as by far the most valuable and important player to his team in the entire league. His presence on the floor is the
18.8.
difference between the Nuggets being a net negative 8.2 points, bordering the worst team in the NBA, and a plus 10.6, one of the best teams in the NBA. For many of these MVP candidates, their team can still compete at a high level even when they're off the court, like the Celtics without Tatum, the Cavs without Mitchell or without Mobley, the Lakers without LeBron, and the Thunder.
That's fake stats, buddy. When LeBron not there, them niggas don't know what to do. They turn to a fucking G League team.
Without Shai. Steph and Giannis are the only other MVP candidates who elevate their teams from below average to title contenders. But without Jokic on the floor this season, the Nuggets are nearly the worst team in the league. Now, it's worth considering who these players play around when they're on the floor. A rotation that tends to keep starters together is bound to favor those in that starting lineup compared to a rotation that pulls and plugs periodically. For example, if Jokic tends to play with starters more often than not, but SGA is constantly playing with rotational players, Jokic's numbers are going to appear better on paper because he's playing alongside a better group. And so I looked into this. How many possessions these MVP candidates have played this season, and how many of those possessions were exclusively with the starting lineup. And it turns out that Nikola Jokic does have the benefit of playing with the best players on the Nuggets more than any of these other
13.6, my poor king,
candidates play with theirs.
Give him some better starters.
17% of all of his minutes on the court coming alongside the Nuggets starters. For comparison, Steph only plays with the Warriors starting lineup 9% of the time. But
because nigga, the starting lineup is full of bench players, so it don't make a difference. He playing with bums the whole game.
In most cases, this number is negligible. For example, Giannis plays with the Bucks starters virtually as much as Jokic plays with his. And at most, the difference in time these players see on the court with their best unit varies by less than 10% of their total playing time. In other words, it doesn't really matter who Jokic is playing around. He rises the tides for his entire team significantly more than anyone else in the entire league. In fact, according to Cleaning the Glass, when you translate these on-off splits to an estimation of impact on Denver's record, the Nuggets are a staggering 45 wins better as a team when Jokic is on the floor versus when he isn't. For comparison, Shai's on-court impact on the Thunder projects to them being about 15 wins better as a team. But this is where the discussion becomes a matter of what you value most in your most valuable player. Because while Jokic elevates the Nuggets to one of the best teams in the league, Shai elevates the Thunder to being one of the best teams of all time. Is it more valuable?
Bad to great or great to greatest? Oh, nah, that's hard. Yo, he did his big one, edited this motherfucker. I ain't gonna lie. When you put it like that, I'm doing great the greatest.
To drag your team from being bad to being in title contention? Or is it more valuable to elevate your team from title hopefuls to overwhelming title favorites? This is essentially what the MVP race is boiling down to. A player with ungodly numbers propelling his team to compete at a level they have no business being at, or a historically great scoring juggernaut who is the sole leader of the best team in recent history. And the answer to this question may boil down to a third and final ingredient to the MVP award. A factor that is often ultimately decided who has won in the past and will more than likely be the deciding factor this season.
Aura?
With Spectrum's
a story worth voting for.
In ESPN's most recent MVP straw poll, 100 members of the media were asked to cast their vote on who they thought was the MVP of the 2025 NBA season. The results? Within the top 5, Donovan Mitchell received 0 first-place votes.
Reasonable.
So did Tatum, and so did Giannis. Nikola Jokic received 30, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander received 70 of the 100 first-place votes. So far, the media has spoken, and they think Shai is this season's most valuable player. But in more recent surveys asking players, NBA executives, and
that nigga was ass in 2K.
But in more recent surveys,
bro, I ain't know what he could do. He couldn't shoot for the Knicks. He couldn't even play defense. I would see him in this all lineup, put his ass right on the bench.
Asking
nigga had no badges.
NBA executives and NBA analysts, out of the 25 votes that were casted, 18 were in favor of Jokic, and only 7 voted for Shai. Which brings us to our third ingredient in the MVP. Narratives. Beyond what you do on the court, the story has to be in your favor as well. And at the moment, every narrative is beaming directly at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to become this season's most valuable player. First and foremost, he is the best player on the best team, a formula that has led to more MVPs than any other. While Jokic is fighting the uphill battle of voter fatigue, Shai is ripe to receive his first MVP. He's not just having a great season, he's having an all-time great individual season. He plays both sides of the ball. He is the leader of the NBA's brightest young team, and in a league that's been searching for a fresh face, Shai is front and center. SGA has
from
what
Canada,
I consider
basically America, right? We right next to each other. We twins.
To be the perfect MVP resume this season. He checks every single box for what you would want in your most valuable player. He has the marquee performance.
We all know this clip. Shut up. Come on, bro.
Every single box for what you would want.
Mr. Aura. Dude, let's see, Asian Dude Dennis was talking too much.
In your most valuable player. He has the marquee performances, he has the momentum, he has the caliber, and of course, he's never won it before. But narratives can also lead us astray. They can allow our emotions to dictate how we perceive what we are actually seeing. And that's where precedence gives us points to reference in search for the most fair and accurate conclusion. It allows us to not be prisoners of the moment, but instead consider the history of the game and the unwritten rules we've abided by up to this point. Precedence tells us that no matter how great a player is, winning 4 MVPs before making it to the finals even twice is completely unheard of, even for the greatest players to ever play. For this same reason,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't. How many MVPs did Braun got? I know it's like 5 or 4. I don't want him matching Braun. Y'all robbed Braun of 9 MVPs. I don't give a fuck. He can average 50, 50, and 50, nigga. I don't give a fuck. Don't give him another one.
Voter fatigue is a frustrating but very real thing. If the MVP award purely went to the most valuable player in the league every season, Michael Jordan and LeBron would each be sitting on about 8 of them right now. Instead, the award sort of blends from one season to the next, taking in the context of everything that came before it and the consequences
and Kobe
of
got
it.
robbed. Come on,
Decades
bro.
ago, MVP voters decided that the award was not reserved for the best player or even the player having the best season. Instead, it was an award that had multiple ingredients, multiple boxes that needed to be checked off. But even by their own criteria, what qualified a player to be the MVP was changing all the time. If it was simply the player having the best season, Michael Jordan would have won it about 8 times. If it was the best player on the best team, Michael Jordan would have won it about
damn Jimmy, get Jordan dick out your mouth, gang. Come
8
on,
times.
bro.
But instead, he has 5, which has essentially set a firm benchmark on how voters vote for the foreseeable future. Voters messed up by not rewarding MJ with the number of MVPs he rightfully earned, and so every player that came after him is held to the same arbitrary, convoluted standard. As one fan put it, sports writers regret not giving Jordan all the MVPs and now punish everyone after that like it's a Supreme Court case and not just something they could change at any time. A case of we do it this way because we've always done it this way. The MVP award should be given to the most valuable player in the league, but it's not quite that simple. And it never has been. To make the argument that Jokic deserves the MVP because he is objectively having the best season in basketball right now would be the most logical conclusion. But it would also be ignoring the 78 years of history, tradition, and expectations that we have come to follow. Based on the responses to this discussion so far, it appears that now more than ever, the players and the people involved in the NBA from game to game view the award as a reflection of simply who is the best, most impactful player. And the media looks at it through the lens more of story and narrative. And in the end, it is the media who gets to vote. With less than a month left in the regular season, the race for the MVP only seems to be getting tighter with each game. And in what is shaping up to be the greatest MVP battle we have ever seen, voters will have to either stay the course and vote for a player that has built a near...
Where is he getting this beautiful 4K Ultra HD footage from? I've never seen none of these clips
perfect MVP case, or make a rare exception to a player that is quite possibly having the most impactful individual season in modern NBA history.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie, Jimmy. That was a great video. I ain't gonna lie. That was like a 20 out of 10 video game. That was super tough. Hey man, if y'all enjoyed, like, subscribe, turn on post notice, and I will see y'all in the next reaction.
My mom was an addict and pop one then. And trust me, I still ain't care. My stepdad came in, showed me the ropes, and he died, and it's messed up, ain't it? I know how I feel when your house supposed to be a home and you feel like it's nowhere to go. I know how I feel when you try your hardest all year and you still got nothing to show.